England, and they disrupted the whole status quo of radio in the UK. Artificial intelligence is something new. It goes way back, right? It goes way, way back.
Hey, good morning, Lionel.
Hi. Hi. Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. So you're doing great because Bangalore has been going through a severe heat wave, and
Oh, yeah.
right now there is a heavy rain going on. It is
Oh,
going to cool
great.
down.
Great. Great.
Yeah,
It's always nice. Eh? We had rain here in Vienna today too, but we haven't had a heat wave lately. So it's
fantastic.
refreshing and good for the
Refreshing.
plants and all that.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is it? 11, 10 a.m., 9 a.m., 11
It's
a.m.?
11 a.m. here.
Okay. Okay. Right in the half of the first part of the day. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Well, my day starts at 5 o'clock in the morning. I, uh,
Oh.
yes, I am not halfway through though. It goes
Mhm.
until about 9, 10 at night. Those are my days.
So your generation started at 4, 5. My generation, I won't say, let me not say my generation, maybe
Mhm.
little younger to you. So we started 6, 7, and next generation is around 9, 10. So
Yeah.
we are slowly moving towards west. Probably very soon we will sleep all through our day and then wake up when you wake up.
Right. Well, when I was just focused on music, I used to have a rule that nobody should contact me before noon.
Uh,
And if it was good news, it could wait. If it was bad news, I don't want to hear it until after
makes
noon.
sense. Makes sense. So we are going to make it casual because the intention of the interview is to know you, learn from you, uh, of that sort. So not very formal, right? I mean, so
Nice,
yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah. So if you could walk us through like how you got into music in the first place. Were you a child? As a child, you loved music, and then all the way to being an entrepreneur in the music industry. If you could throw some light on
Sure,
that.
sure. It's a bit of a story.
Mhm.
So, first of all, my father was in the music industry, in the entertainment industry in the
Okay.
1960s. He was a program director and main DJ for an entity called Radio Caroline, which in Radio Caroline was a pirate radio station 2 miles off the coast of England,
Hmm.
broadcasting into England, and they disrupted the whole status quo of radio in the UK.
Hmm.
Within a short period of time, they had 25 million daily listeners. And they basically were responsible, many claim this, and I think it's true, were responsible for the British invasion, what they call the British music invasion of 1960s outside of England. So
Right.
he worked with the Rolling Stones, with the Kinks, with the Who, and interviewed the Beatles. He didn't work with the Beatles, but he worked with a whole bunch of other bands. Pete Townsend said on his book that if it wasn't for my father and Radio Caroline, the Who wouldn't have sold a single record. I'm not sure if that's true, but it's very nice that he recognized
Right.
it. So I grew up in this environment where before I even knew what the world was or what work was or what a career was, music was all around me.
Hmm.
I went to the opening, the premiere of the Beatles movie Help when I was just a few years old. Right, so this is the environment. And I thought everybody grew up in that environment. As a kid, you think what you experience is what natural for everybody else, and it took a while to realize that it was unique. But so I grew up in this, and I started writing when I was 3, 4 years old. I started writing lyrics, changing lyrics to songs to make it so less adult, more childlike. Right?
Right.
And as I grew up, I started on the piano, and I went to saxophone, and I went to guitars and vocals, and so I learned instruments. And my main thing was to be a writer and to be a performer.
Hmm.
And I've really focused on that most of my life. I've written hundreds of songs and co-written many more, and played thousands of shows and all that kind of thing. And but along the way, every now and then I would see something in the business side that I just thought, well, that's not right.
Hmm.
That's not the way that should be done. That doesn't seem right. And so then I'd start a company, start a business, and answer the need,
Hmm.
basically. And the main first main ones were in the 90s in the UK, and I started independent booking agency for live music that grew and grew and grew and became this huge entity. And we really disrupted a lot of the status quo. And I sold that, and then went away for a while, came back to the UK and started an entertainment magazine. And that was really just, it was a real need outside of London. There was nothing else outside of London for bands to be reviewed for their, you had to be doing something in London to get the press to recognize you. So we started this whole thing, and it grew into this lifestyle magazine, and we ended up selling that. And I went back to Granada, Spain, and played in cafes and had an easy life for a bit. And then somebody suggested Vienna, and I got on a bus and came to Vienna, and happily living off my music for quite a few years. And then in the mid 2000s, CD sales were obviously going to be going. I could see it on the horizon. And so I started a sync licensing boutique sync licensing agency. And what licensing is, it is the legal usage of music in visual production. So if you're watching a film or a TV show, and there's music in it, it's being licensed. And there is most parts of the world, some parts of the world, there isn't a license paid because they consider it marketing for the artist. But most parts of the world, there is a license paid. And so this is a way to make money out of recordings. So I started licensing it. Other people ask me how I did that. And if I do it for them, next thing I know, I've got a sync licensing agency. And, with record labels and artists. And through that saw the problems, the frustrations, the frictions in the sync licensing agent sector of the entertainment industry. And sync licensing is really a core sector. It's not very well known, right? Unless you're in the industry, it's pretty under the radar for most people, but it is a core sector for the entertainment industry, for both the music side and the visual production side. And so, and thinking that I'm not the smartest person in the room, and there's probably smarter people out there than me, I thought somebody must have built something that fixed all these problems. And I went looking for it and didn't find it. So I put together the SyncLodge founding team. And basically we have built, it took us about 3.5 years, close to 4 years to build it, with input from over 200 stakeholders in the industry. So the first thing I did is I went around I have a lot of contacts in the industry, and I went around to contacts I have at major labels and visual production companies and such, and said, this is what I'm thinking of doing. What do you think? If you tell me it's a bad idea, you're gonna save me quite a few years of anguish and frustration and a lot of work. Right?
Sure.
But they all said, no, that would be great if you build that. That would be wonderful. So, okay. So we built it. And like I said, 3.5, 4 years later, we launched it, and we've won quite a few awards. We are the first all-in-one system for managing sync licensing. We have a portal for the copyright owners on the music side. We have a portal for the visual production companies, and what the agents are called music supervisors. And they're more than just agents. They do a lot with managing the music in a production. And so we have these mainly two portals. There's a couple other ones for different sectors. But we have these mainly two portals, and we don't manage the deals. We let them connect. Okay. So they register with us, and they can use all of the tools for free, and we have a percentage model on the sync licensing license fee.
Interesting. Okay. And you don't have, because a lot of the marketplaces, one of the factors people consider is, look, if they put me out of the loop and, they do offline transaction, and the whole purpose of creating this marketplace from the marketplace owner's standpoint is gone. How do you ensure that people do not misuse that connection?
Well, we watch it very closely. First of all, we vet and look at everybody that signs up to SyncLodge. So we have a small team of people that we really look at them. And if we can't find proof of their claims of ownership, or that they're professionals in this sector of the industry, we do get in touch with them, or get in touch with the company they say they work for, and just to confirm. So everybody that is using SyncLodge is a vetted professional. And if we also have, it's easy to complain about somebody. If somebody's misusing it, then they can complain. We lock their account, and we go and talk to them. And you know, we haven't had any problems so far, but we have set it up so that we can quickly block and make sure that there's nothing funny going on.
You are doing what we are doing for IT, you are doing for music. We, for example, let's say if SyncLodge was to be built as a platform, but if your core competency is music and music marketplace, not building the portal, you come to AiDOOS, okay? And then we identify the right experts and get it built. The difference is, unlike other marketplaces, we are the face for you. Like exactly what you're doing. You are ensuring you are there in the chain. Like SyncLodge is also doing that. It's not like people can, do some offline stuff. Because you know that both the sites are serious players, not non-serious players, and you ensure. So that's exactly what we do as well. So
yeah, and in the software side, there are a lot of serious players, but there's also a lot that, you know, their CV looks good, but when it comes down to really their knowledge, and the problem we have with bringing in new developers or outsourcing is that, first of all, the industry itself, the sector of the industry, is very complicated.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people in the industry that don't really understand it, right? And so it's very complicated. And also, our system is absolutely huge. Okay, like it is a massive system. It is our development team, our CTO, and we have a small development team. They originally came from the banking sector. They did the Deutsche Bank system. They did the Bank Austria systems, and so they told us about halfway through building it that it's about 1,000 times more code than the Deutsche Bank system. So that was halfway through building it, right?
Is it because of the file system, the music file system, or?
Well, there's so many components that they have to work together. It's really a complicated process.
Understood.
And to do it professionally. And one of the things during the building one of the things that happened is we interviewed and we had advisors from many sectors, and we realized that a lot of them work in slightly different ways. There isn't like a set way of working. It's not like a brand new industry that has a standard and okay, this is how we do it, and everybody's going to do it that way. It slowly, organically grew, and so we had to make it very versatile. We had to make it so if they want to work this way, they can. If they want to work that way, they can.
Yeah.
Right? And all the components work together. That's the other complicated thing. Like you change one thing and it changes other things automatically and updates things, and it's right.
Understood. One question, and then you have both the people who are looking to utilize the content there, and there are people who own the content. When you bring these two, you have a transaction getting built there, but predominantly a commercial transaction. Have you thought about content transaction, like in a way of building community? Because you have so much content already there. You have music lovers there. Have you thought about building any community around it so that it becomes a natural evolution for your platform?
Originally, we were going to, if this is what you mean, originally we were going to put in like a user forum where people can communicate and people can post needs and people can post releases. That is still on the roadmap, but it keeps getting pushed back because other things seem to be more important for the business functionality. And so, but this is something, I am a big believer in community and bridging networks and helping people meet other people, and the empowering the creatives is what it's all about. But yeah, it is something I'm a little frustrated that we haven't built it yet. But we can only do so much each week.
I'll take a quick pause. I'll let you have. Okay. So in this journey, Lionel, entrepreneurship itself is ups and downs, unprecedented, unanticipated, all that. And you have actually come from you being yourself an artist and then got into entrepreneurship. I'm sure you have had your own share of challenges, and if you could share some of those instances, what happened and how it happened, how did you come out, and we could learn something from it. Yeah.
Okay, so one of my attitudes towards challenges is all challenges are positive things. Right? They are frustrating at the time, And there's some evenings where there's a few swear words that come out of my mouth because things have happened. And so far with SyncLodge, our main challenge is in areas like Los Angeles, New York, London, is changing the status quo, getting people to actually change their workflow, change the tools they're using. But if I go back to previous businesses, when we had I built up the magazine in the UK, and this was in the mid-90s, and we had, so it was a broadsheet magazine, okay, and it covered everything. If you're a living human being, it covered anything that if you have interest, it will cover this, right? We had experts, we had a big team and everything. And the people that were printing it for us was actually a chain of local, based in sort of most of the west of the UK, newspapers. Right? One company owned all these different newspapers, and they had a big printing place. They were printing it for us. And then we basically started taking all their advertising from them. Right? We were far more interesting, we were far more engaging, and so they started losing a lot of advertising. They started trying to undermine what we were doing. Right. So first of all, they did a report, because we had a claim of how many our circulation each month. There was a monthly publication. We were saying we were circulating these many copies, and they did a report basically saying, without saying it in a libel way, that our circulation wasn't even half that. Right. Right. The funny thing is that they were printing it, so they knew how many we were printing. Right. So it was like this claim that, and then they started doing other things. They started, trying to undermine us. They ridiculed us. They tried to come up against us. And it was, each time it was like, oh God, really? Like, that's what they're saying. And I get calls from advertisers saying, is this true, or what's going on? And, maybe, and what a couple of advertisers were saying they wanted half their money back because they didn't, they wanted us to prove our numbers and all of this sort of stuff. When those things happened, I always feel that a human relationship is the most important. So when those problems happen, I would get in my car and I'd drive to their office, right? And I'd bring with me, this was early days of computers, so I didn't have a laptop, but I bring with me a paper file, great big thick paper file showing everything, right? And total transparency. I just go through with them, right? And just go through and show them even the numbers, what other people were paying for their advertisements, right? And just total transparency. And just let them know, look, we are, and obviously you can see if you're getting a response from the public to buy your product or use your service, and that's the main thing. In the end, the newspaper chain ended up buying us.
This was when?
This was in the mid-90s. Mid-1990s. So they ridiculed us, hated us, tried to undermine us, then bought us. And then what they did is they made us into their Sunday supplement, their weekly Sunday supplement, and they destroyed it basically. They gutted it and destroyed it and got rid of it. Right? That was, it was a sad thing to see, and a lot of people, when I go back to the UK, a lot of people do say how much they miss it, but I got to a point where I was working like 18 hours a day, 7 days a week on this thing, and I was just had enough. And the money was good, so at that company I had no investors.
Okay.
So I owned the whole thing, right? So I owned the whole thing. So it was like a nice payday for me. Also, I shared the buyout with our staff too. Everybody got a bonus at the end.
Right. So do people miss even to this day?
Yes, when I go back to the UK, they say, "Oh, I remember that. That was so great."
Oh.
We gave it away for free, and we distributed it everywhere. So, and we didn't distribute in what's called news agents, where they sell publications because they're selling them. But we had them in doctor's office, dentist's office, pubs, clubs, restaurants, libraries, any place we could drop them off, and people would use them and read them.
Very nice. Disruptive model in those days.
Yeah, but nobody was doing that. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, okay, this makes sense. And if we can justify the whole thing with the advertising revenue, which we did,
Yeah.
then we don't need to sell it, which makes it so we're more used, we're more read. There's no, well, of course you're in the pub, you're going to pick it up, you're going to open it
Right.
up and read it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know. I mean, people could do that even today. I don't know. Nobody does. I don't know why.
Yeah.
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 But you know, one of the things with challenges also is I see it as a very positive thing for the team, right? It pulls the team together. Here
Mhm.
we are. There's something going on that we're being threatened. We're being something's happening that's a negative thing supposedly for us. Okay, let's all pull together. Let's figure this out. Let's get past this. And I like the idea of going towards the biggest obstacle.
Mm.
Of you know, a lot of people when they work, there's a huge obstacle and they try to take care of the little things. I go for the big one. What's the biggest obstacle? Let's get that out of the way, and then the little ones will be easy, right? And maybe the big one will get rid of a lot of the little ones too. But it's great for team building. You know, when you get through that, and the whole team goes, okay, yeah, we got through that, and now we're
Yeah.
in a better place. You know, it's great for bonding and all of that.
True. True. And also, it a lot of people are afraid of solving problems, and probably people may not even know their capability that they could solve. And when this kind of things we do, they realize, oh, was it I who could solve this? Then they understand their true potential. So probably your leadership, I'm sure, has made a lot of difference in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. Well, I believe there's a I'm a big fan of a guy named Ray Dalio who runs Bridgewater Investments, one of the biggest investments firms in the world. And I was doing this before, but he really put it in a concise way of radical transparency and radical honesty.
Hmm.
So radical transparency means everybody in the team has access to everything that's going on, right? Regardless, right? Regardless if you're working in this sector of the company and this
Mhm.
is going on in this sector, you still have overview and you can have your input. And so, and with radical honesty is what do you think? And it's never a personal thing. It is idea on the table. No, I don't like that idea because of this and because of that. Well, you have to have a reason. It can't just be because you don't like it. And then the best is if you have an alternative, right? I think we should do it this way. And sometimes we have people from a real, you know, from the development team looking at the marketing, right? And just saying, I don't think that's the way to do this. And you know, and it's very interesting that having that, you know, everybody knows what's going on. We are a team. There's nothing hid. There's nothing secret. It's not. We're not. I'm not protecting my thing. This is not my thing. And I have an old a saying. I'm not sure if I made it up, but I think I did. But anyway, that a violin is not an orchestra.
Can you repeat that?
A violin is
Is not
not an
orchestra. That is true. That
right?
is true.
But
Yeah.
but you need a violin to have an orchestra,
Orchestra. That is true.
right? And so having that perspective on it, right?
Mm.
You know, we everybody's important,
Right.
right? And nobody is what is, you know, you look at some companies and it's like they have their figurehead, their leader, and everybody thinks that they're doing everything. I'm not going to name some names, but there's some prominent people in the business world, and they always get the credit for it, right? And I just think, no. That's taking hundreds of people, right? That's a big team, and everybody's at a part of it, right? And give them the credit.
True, 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 true. So, moving forward, there's so many technology disruptions that is happening, and it's probably uh, impacting positively, negatively, neutrally, whatever, every industry. How do you see, because a lot of music artists and people in the music and creative industry, especially, are worried about this Gen AI. Will it
Mhm.
take away their bread and butter, right? So you come from that industry, you are an industry veteran. So what's your perspectives on that front?
Are you referring to AI or
Yes. AI and
AGI?
Gen AI, correct.
Yes. Yes. Okay. There's a lot of talks about that. Okay. So you know, a lot of people think that artificial intelligence is something new.
Mm.
It goes way back, right? It goes way back. There was stuff in some ways in a very basic way in the 50s. There was stuff in the 80s where you could play an instrument along with your computer and it would play the piano or make up a piano arrangement for you, right? There's so but right now it it's a there's so many great tools to help creatives, right? So many great tools. Right? On the music side, you know, there is AI generated music. And
Right.
the problem with this is that like in the States, the Congress has stated in copyright laws that a machine cannot own a copyright. Okay. And just because you programmed a machine, because you know, machine learning, you trained it, doesn't mean you own the copyright on what's output. Right. So, okay, there's a problem for monetizing your AI and generating music. Okay, there's a problem for that. And what one situation is, and I know of some companies that have done this, where they've put a whole bunch of music into their AI and trained it, and then now it can output, right? And so let's say they put in 5 million tracks into their AI generator. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's say that on the average, out of those 5 million, there is 10 copyright holders per track. So that's 50 million copyright holders. Okay. They generate some music, they release it, it makes $1 million, right? So that is, what is that, 20 cents each copyright holder, right? You know, it just doesn't make financial sense. Okay, it really doesn't. The only place that it's really useful in a way, and this again has to be watched for copyright ownership, is in what's called scores. So there's a bit of music, sort of, it's not a song, but in the background of a scene, there's a bit of sort of suspenseful music or calming music, and AI is very good at generating that. Right, it makes it a lot easier than hiring a composer and all of that. But what it has been trained on is very important. So there are some companies that are doing deals with composers, training their system on what the composer has done before, and then doing a deal where when we make money, you get this percentage of it. Right? That works. And you know, it's something to watch out for the creatives, that it doesn't take over. But you know, the other thing is there's also it's being used for like script writing. Right. And I think you know, it's going to get to a point where it's really, really good at it. Right now, it's not really good at it, but as a tool for a script writer, this is very good. But again, it has to be trained. So if I was a script writer, I would actually start with a company and put all my scripts in, train it on my scripts, and make it easier for me to write scripts. And I could write 10 scripts a day, right? And I get the AI doing it, but I get money out of that. That has to be the end result. And I believe there has to be a human on the creative side. There has to be a human overview. You know, it's same with writing code. You know, there's some people that saying, you know, ChatGPT 4 can write code, but it's still, you need somebody that understands the code to have an overview on it, right? It's still not perfect, and it needs the proper prodding, the proper prompts to actually. And I've seen stuff where it comes out like, you know, you want it to make a loaf of bread, and it comes out as scrambled eggs.
So the couple of on that note, couple of points, Lionel, and if you could give your perspective, if ChatGPT could write code, which it could, whatever used to take 10 developers to write code, if one developer can do that productivity, because that person is now augmented by ChatGPT in terms of speed it can generate, then we don't know what happens to the remaining 9 developers, because there is just not enough work, is one. Second, in terms of content, right? Let's say music. What you could probably write 1 script in a day or 1 script in a week. Now, if AI can augment you and you could write 10 scripts per day, then it actually beats the purpose of rarity. It's so common, so much what is happening to the content. There's a content abundance now, and we are confused what to consume, what not to consume. It should not happen to the creative work like art, music, all these, right? I mean, if AI gets us to that level, then it loses that you know, that spot that you want to listen to music, because it's so much getting generated. You don't know the, you know, we don't see the beauty of it. Yeah. I want to hear your perspectives on this.
Yeah. Well, with music, there is, you know, music is I believe, the greatest form of communications humans have ever come up with. It just hits us emotionally and intellectually in so many different ways. And the big thing of that is the human communication, right? And I do not believe, and maybe in the future that I'll be wrong about this, but I do not believe that that an AI, that a computer system can actually really feel. right? And actually have an emotional reaction to something, right? And this is something that when you listen to music, it affects you. There are stuff that's coming out that you go, okay, that is really good. That's a great pop song, and it's all AI. The voice is AI generated. All the instruments are AI generated. That is really good. But there's something missing. There's something missing. It's really good on like there's a plastic element to it, and we also like the story. The whole thing of the celebrity of the personality, the person behind it, who they are, right? And we like reading about their what happened to them over the last month. Oh, they just got married, now they're divorced, and
Right.
and anything they're going through, right? We like being involved. We like having this human personal connection,
Right.
right? And if we take that away, I believe everything happens in waves.
Right.
Everything goes up and goes down, and it's going to go up with AI, and it's going to peak, and then it's going to go down where it's going to be, somebody's playing acoustic guitar in a local cafe, and that's going to be so special because you don't see that anymore. Right? People are going to go down and go, oh, that was so great hearing a human sing those songs, right? So I believe this is going to happen, and also with code and with other things, having that creative, personal interaction.
Right.
As somebody wanting something done, talking to the person, really having, with our development team, like I said, it's a small team, but we have great conversations, right? And I'll put something on the table and say, this is what it needs to be, and we need to do this, and need to do that. What do you guys think? Do you have any ideas, right? It's not just they're not just doing what I tell them to do. And sometimes they go, well, actually, no, that won't work that way because of this and this and this, and we should do it this way. And remember, in the future, there might be other things coming up, so we have to prepare for that. Having that, I would think it would be a lonely day where a person like me as an entrepreneur, where I just have AI do all my code, build my platform, build everything, right? Like that sounds like a really lonely existence, right? It might money, but then what's the quality of my life, right? But I do one more point on that. I do think it is going to take away a lot of people's jobs.
You do think?
Yeah, I do think so. Like just the example of doing code, right? And if it takes 10 people to do the code, then now you only have one person that's needed to do the code. What happens to those 9 people, right? And this is a challenge. This is something that humans have gone through many times with industrial revolutions and technological revolutions. This is something that we have to figure out how to deal with, and deal with from a compassionate perspective. And one of the ideas that I've heard and I do support a lot is AI should be taxed. There should be a separate space for AI generated work, right? So if I'm a script writer and I'm writing 10 scripts a day, I should be in a totally different tax bracket, right? And because we have to support, we can't just, otherwise, we have people dying in the streets.
You should adopt 10. You should adopt 10 people. That's the tax, probably. Probably governments will come out with some new ways of taxing.
Yeah, and then maybe the wave will go down where it says, no, I'm not using AI at all to write my scripts.
Right.
It takes me a week to do a script. Maybe it takes longer. I've never written a script, so I don't know how long they take to write. But I'm doing it all by myself, so I'm in this lower tax bracket. So actually, I'm making more money.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But we need to figure that one out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, do you have any lessons for like new entrepreneurs who are like trying to start a company? And
yeah, I've got many thoughts on that. Okay. First of all, don't believe your assumptions, right? Your assumptions. Don't believe you. I think the industry is this, and I think it needs that. Don't test them. Test your assumptions. Don't just have a great idea and think, yeah, everybody's going to love this, right? Like with SyncLodge, we did, the first 6-9 months was just talking to people, just saying it, right? And just going around and saying, okay, if you think it's a good idea, what would you need, right? And really asking the market what it really needs. Right? And the other thing is choose your partners very, very carefully, and the people you work with very carefully. And I like the attitude of some people I've met where they say it's not so much their ability, it's their attitude, right? How they fit in with our team, right? How are we going to get along? How are we going to work together, right? That's, you can learn ability, right? But you have to have a certain amount of ability. But the thing of a team, and I like to tell people, it's far more intense than being married. Right, we take a long time to choose we go on dates with them. We meet their family. We do all this sort of thing before we decide to marry somebody. And sometimes we have a year or two relationship, and then we don't marry them, and we break up, and we find somebody else. And we go through all of this before we find somebody that we go, okay, yes, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And I think having partners in business is far more intense than that. Right, so you're really going to go through hell together. And and you're going to have to rely on each other, and you're going to have arguments, and you have to make sure that these people are somebody that you're willing to go through that with. And I think that's a big reason for a lot of companies failing, is because their partners and their team just disagree, and they go, oh yeah, well, F you, and I'm not going to work with you anymore. And all of a sudden the company split up and the company falls. And obviously in marriage, people do get divorced a lot. Right? But it is, I think those are the two main things. Don't believe your assumptions, and choose your partners very carefully.
So validate your assumptions.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I have a follow-up question on that, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Sure.
Not to counter what you said, right? I mean, but some of the breakthrough products, Lionel, we were not missing anything until Facebook came, and then we realized what we were missing. That social connection. We were not missing until smartphone came. That we were not missing smartphone. But after smartphone came, then we realized what we could. And this is when this is where Steve Jobs said, people don't know what they need. Sometimes we need to show them and tell them, right? In fact, in Indian marriages also, we don't validate assumptions. Sometimes even parents choose life partner for us. Just like Steve Jobs says, people don't know what they need. Parents think that kids don't know what they need. So they in Indian marriage, they find the life partners. I'm just joking. But how do you see these breakthrough products, never validated, just came out and disrupted everything?
Yeah, I think that's really exciting. I think it's really great. With Facebook, most people know the story of it, that he started at Harvard and then branched out to other campuses, and he started proving the point. But they also adjusted a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They adjusted a lot. They said, okay, well, actually, this is something we need to add, and this is something, and just sort of watched how it was going. With SyncLodge, we are. I don't think we're disruptive in any way, because we don't take away anybody's work, and we're not really replacing anything except for the tools they're using now, which are very archaic tools. But it takes a lot for them to realize, I have conversations with people, and they say, look, I'm working fine. I've got everything under control. Right. And sometimes I get this from large companies, the team, they say, we're a large company. We've got everything under control, doing fine. We start showing them, actually, you don't. And actually, this is something that you really need to look at. And sometimes it's taken us a long time of different meetings, and me going to their city and being patient with them. I don't like hard sales, but just it is something that people, they don't really know what they need, because they haven't seen it before. Right, and they think what they're dealing with is. I like the idea that there's two little metaphors I like to put together. One is, the person that invents the first fire hose, right?
Yeah.
The person that invents the first fire hose.
Okay.
Right, and the mayor of the town that's burning down is too busy to talk to him. Right. Yeah. He's just too busy carrying buckets of water.
Right.
And what do you mean? I don't even know what that is. Get out of my way. I'm too, we have our system. We got our buckets, and we got our people moving the buckets. We're throwing the buckets on the fire. We're doing it. It works. It works. Eventually the fire goes out.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing is, the other metaphor is a person living in a town where everybody rides horses.
Mm.
There's no automobiles at all.
Yeah.
Right. And they have a car. They have a car lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're actually giving the cars away for free.
Mm-hmm.
And they're giving the insurance away for free. They're giving a lifetime worth of fuel for free, and all the maintenance you want for free.
Okay.
Just take the car, right? And I used to put that part of it, because for for all the buyers of licenses on SyncLodge, the system's totally free for them. Right? It's totally free. Right? And the person comes along with their horse and goes, "Oh, looks like a nice buggy." And it goes, "Yeah, would you like one?" And the person goes, "Well, my horse would never. It's too heavy. It looks too heavy for my horse to pull." And the person says, "Oh no, look, there's a motor in it. Your horse doesn't have to pull it, right? It drives it." And the person goes, "Oh yeah, that's great, but really my horse is old and it'll never be able to pull it, and I don't want to put the strain on my horse. So no thanks. But it's free. Yeah, no thanks. But I'll probably kill my horse, and I like my horse, and I'm not going to get one." And they totally miss the point of it, right? Right. And it takes them seeing somebody else use it.
Yeah.
It takes word of mouth of somebody else going, "Hey, are you using this? It's great." We use WhatsApp a lot inside the company, and I love WhatsApp. I don't know how they make money unless maybe they're stealing our data, which okay, whatever. But we use it for different sectors of the different focuses of the company, and everybody in the company can have access to it, and it's wonderful. We can set up messages, we can have talks, we can phone each other, we can have video talks. Wonderful thing. But before I ever heard of that, when I don't remember the first time I heard of that sort of service. I think it was WhatsApp, but what do I need it for? Well, I've got my phone, I've got my email. What do I need that for?
Yeah.
Right? Now it's basically replaced my phone.
True.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. But yeah, very true. Until people see it and experience it, they think, "What do I need that for?"
They may not know. Yeah. True. Yeah. Go ahead. So you were born in music because your father was in that industry, and now you are here. What's the next generation planning to do? Are they continuing in the music industry?
I don't have any children myself.
Okay.
My brother has a son who is an amazing drummer, very talented.
Okay.
Right? Both my brothers, I have two older brothers. Both of them are creative in the music industry.
Okay.
Right? I don't have, and it's not out of choice. It's not that I didn't want children. It just, well, I met my wife when I was 40.
Okay.
It took that long to find somebody that I really was going, okay, this is the one, right?
And the rest of life, yeah.
And we were open to having children. It just didn't happen.
Understood. Got it. So I want to explain just a little bit what we do, and if you could let me know your opinion. One is what we do, and second, I'll also throw some philosophical thought process, Lionel. There's so much these layoffs going on, and Tesla laid off so many people, Google laid off, and last year there were so many layoffs. And everybody is more or less agreeing it's not because of AI or automation. It is also, it could be to do with overhiring that happened during COVID, but not the only reason. So what is going to happen and what we believe, our core principle in our company also is, companies need not be behemoths like they are today. There could be core group of people who are thinkers, architects, product managers, these people who think and make decisions, and work can be pushed to platforms. Okay. Earlier it was called outsourcing because outsourcing was limited to a set of vendors, 1 or 2 or 3 vendors. Platforming is like open to the open talent, and the platforms will figure out who or which team is the right team and gets it done, right? So this will remove the constraints for a company that I get work done only from this, or I need to hire so many people and then fire them eventually, right? And it opens up and it also brings the cost down. That's advantage for customer. For talent, it opens up because they get to work with so many companies and customers around the globe by being in the same place, not necessarily by being employed by those companies, right? So what's your opinion about this model, Lionel? I'll talk about the philosophical context after this. Yeah.
Well, outsourcing, I think, is a great thing. I think it's like you say. Why, if you have a project and you expand your team by 20% and the project's done, you get rid of those people, right? This is an expense. This is a management time expense. This is, it takes a lot of vetting of the people. The thing that I have apprehension with on our side with outsourcing is competency And also, a lot of our stuff is, we're very careful when we're building something that nobody else knows we're building it.
Fair enough.
Right? We don't want it leaked until we actually launch it, and it takes us like maybe 6 weeks, 2 months after we launch before we tell anybody it exists. We have people, trying it, and we feedback and adjusting and all that, right? And so the one of the ideas is, okay, if there's an outsourced company and they're doing stuff for us, and they're also doing stuff for somebody that's maybe close competition to us, is there leakage of information? Is they built this tool for us? Will they say, okay, and just adjust it for them?
Yeah.
And and that sort of thing. That is a bit of a concern. And the idea of non-disclosure agreements, they're all very good and fine, but who wants to take somebody to court because you think something being? I'm not big on that, right? Once it's being leaked, it's being leaked. Okay, lesson learned. But the idea of having a resource that we can say, okay, we need this done, right? We need this done, and this is a person that's going to be managing the project from our side, and we will have somebody that that they're either on the creative side of design or the tech side, and having a team that we can just say, okay, you guys do that. It's going to take this much time to do it. Okay, we'll have regular meetings about it. That sounds good to me. We have looked at outsourcing to other companies, and our CTO, he's like 25, 30 years in tech team management and really understands his craft. And we've had meetings where 10 minutes into the meeting, he sent me a message over WhatsApp saying these people don't really understand. They're saying they understand this software language, but when I ask them a basic question, they don't know how to answer that. And we don't want to get into that where it's going back and forth and it's not being built, and it's and like I said before, because the system is so complicated and so many different components working together, if one new one is introduced and it's not working properly, it's just going to mess everything up, and we're so worried about that, right?
Right. So I'll add in continuing to what I said and what you answered, I'll add a philosophical context to it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Again, an overarching umbrella thought process in our platform is in the human evolution, Lionel, in life 1.0, we were all hunter-gatherers. Okay. We woke up with the sun, hunted for food, ate and slept. Okay. Very primitive life. In life 2.0, we moved wherever water bodies were available. Okay. Mostly relying on agriculture, cattle, and maybe some small-scale industries. Okay. Mm-hmm. And in life 3.0, we moved wherever jobs and opportunities existed. This is when Industrial Revolution came, followed by Information Technology Revolution, followed by Internet Revolution. Okay. Mm-hmm. What we believe is we are at the end of life 3.0 and the beginning of life 4.0. Okay. 10 to 15 years from now, we will probably see a completely different world than what we are, starting with work disruption. Okay. Because what is keeping me in where I am and what is keeping you where you are is predominantly the work we are doing. Okay. So when that is getting disrupted, and Corona proved that disruption is possible, people can work from anywhere, and it proved our thought process, platform thought process, right? What we believe will happen in life 4.0 is people will explore the world. Okay. You lived in London and now in Vienna, but if you fast forward, you could live in London for a couple of years, Vienna for 2 years, in Bangalore for a year, go to New York for a year, Australia for another, Africa.
Well, I know people that work remotely that they are constantly basically on vacation. They're like 2 weeks here, 3 weeks there.
Yeah. You are mentioning specific people now because it's a rarity now. What we are saying is that will become the normal very soon, because my kids' generation and their kids' generation, right, my grandchildren, why should they stick to a place? Because technology allows us to roam around the world, explore the world. Borders will be erased probably, right? So in that model, think of it as an Uber, but without location, right? Uber finds you are interested in ride, not the driver. I say I want to go from A to B. Uber finds out the driver and comes to my doorstep based on few parameters. And even driver is not searching for a ride. Driver just says yes when the rides come. opportunities. That's the model we are foreseeing on our platform few years down the line, and we are evolving to that, where people, doesn't matter where they are, they could be individuals or small teams, right? We enable small teams given the size of the work. And we are an orchestration layer so that, because companies eventually have to tap into this, because people will no longer be restricted to a location. I want to hear your opinion on this philosophical thought process, Life 4.0.
Yeah, I think this is going to be wonderful. I think people being able to have the freedom to be able to explore the world and mixing of cultures and exploring of cultures and understanding. I've lived in quite a few different countries, and mostly from a musical perspective. And one of the most wonderful things was going somewhere I've never been before, a culture I've never experienced before, and finding musicians and working with them. And sometimes our spoken language is not really there between us, but they're working in a way that I've never experienced, and it's wonderful to experience that.
Yes.
Right? I think this would be the healthiest thing for humankind. I think we categorize ourselves into small areas and say, this is who I am, this is where I'm from, and this is my culture, and that's different, so I don't like it.
Yeah.
Which for me is just a ridiculous perspective. It's like, if that's different, that's interesting. Let's go and find out what that is, and not disrupt it, but learn from it. And I think about the Chinese and how the different points in back history, hundreds of years, how they introduced certain things to the Western culture that really became standard and basic, right? Or India with the British tea. Yeah. Right. Now everybody in the British are known for drinking tea. That's one of their things, right? Right. The British tea people, but wasn't even their thing in the first place, right? It came from India, right? Right. And so having that cross-cultural pollination, I think this is very, very healthy, and I hope it happens sooner than later.
Yeah. And all the wars were fought and are being fought for the land. Once the land is taken out of equation, probably we'll see more harmonious world.
Yeah, if you meet people during the week or during the month or the year that are from a totally different culture, and you get along with them, and you become friends and you understand them. If their nation and my nation starts talking about going to war, you go, well, no, they're good people. The ones I've met, I don't believe your propaganda that they're all like they're going to eat our children. No, they're not going to eat our children, right?
We'll be no more programmed for hatred. We will not be programmed for hatred. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And not set for like a general nation or any sort of racial element to it, right? It's an individual. Yeah, that person I don't like, but that doesn't mean I don't like all the people that look like them or sound like them, right? It's just that one person I think is a jerk.
Any closing thoughts, Lionel?
Well, we've covered a lot today, and it's been really a refreshing conversation. I do think that we are going through a major change, but when haven't we? That's the thing, right? Okay, my generation, we grew up from the 50s to sometime in the 90s. There was no wars really going on that were on our radar. I grew up in Canada, so everything, the world was, as far as we knew, was at peace. Okay, that's not really true, but that was our perspective. And it's only recently where it's becoming heated up, the whole thing with Russia and Ukraine and going on Israel and Gaza, and then now maybe China and the US. Hope that they're not so stupid, right? But it is something that I think these are changes that have happened many times, and we have to grow up as a human being.
As a human race.
I have a funny thing with the word race. We're a species, right?
Okay.
We're all basically the same, right? And we all came from the same place. And the reason your skin is a little darker than my skin is because the environment your generation grew up in, right? That's the only reason, right?
Yeah.
But as a species, we really just got to get past this arrogance and this greed and this stupidity and work together. We could have paradise here.
Yeah.
We have more abundance than we could actually consume.
True.
Right? More energy than we can consume.
True.
Right? We just have to get past this I, me mind. I believe that there was a point in early human evolution where we had a choice. We went into the I, me mind, and we could have gone into the we, us, right? And if we had gone into the we, us and said, what's most important to me is that other people are happy and that they're doing well. If we all had that perspective, the world would be paradise, right? Because I wouldn't be looking after me, I'd be looking after you. But then somebody's looking after me, right?
True.
Right? And unfortunately, we went to the I, me mind. And we have to steer that back some way. It's going to be painful, but we'll get there. I'm sure we will.
Yep, absolutely. This was great conversation. Thank you so much for taking time, and it's wonderful talking to you. Yeah.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you too.